All right. Back to another show. I was debating whether doing this show today because I got a bunch of other things I got to get done. But I got hit by my famous Facebook haters who dislike Trump, dislike everything Trump, dislike he's the devil, and of course, all this different stuff. They wanted to let me know about, Trump's post concerning the Obamas. So I had to do a little bit of research, man. I had to. I had to go in and do some research. I had to go to some of my reliable sources. I'm setting this up right now. Had to go to some of my reliable sources and get me a the full video. I wanted to see what was in the video. I mean, some people dislike it. And first, let's start by saying this. Anytime a black person is referred to as a monkey, I do not condone that. I don't. I don't. Are black people referred to as monkeys by people who are racist and dislike them? True, they do. Do they hold that to the center of their heart? Yeah, they do. Anytime they see a monkey and it comes close to a black person's face looking on it, yo, bro, what's up with that? That's a black person right there. It makes me wonder sometimes, do we really truly believe that we're made in the image and likeness of God, and when somebody calls us a name like we're in class, we respond in a way? Now, when you stack that on top of the fact that they believe Trump is a racist already, or it is what it is. This is how it folds out. But I got a chance to listen to the whole video, and let's play this video right now so you're able. Who was that? Who was that? Huh? Who's that again? He's black, isn't he? Who's that? Hey, if you know who that is, drop me a comment real quick. Let me know who that is. Because I'm like, hold on, who is. But it's interesting how we have this perspective. And I saw this guy, he said, hey, man, if you post that video out there, I'm going to, I ain't going to like anybody. I'm going to block you. So the question is this intentional? Did Trump set out to call the Obamas monkeys and apes? Was that the best use? You said, okay, they can't identify who it was, but that is definitely a lemur. That's a lemur. Whose face is that? You let me know whose face is that. I'm trying to see. Oh, like, oh. I did not see that pig one. I didn't see it. Wow. Isn't that the secretary, the HUD secretary? Oh, whoa, who's down there? So you've got an ostrich. He's an ostrich. Ostrich. Check this out. No, that's a flamingo. I apologize. So this is the video. Everybody's in here. Madami's a chicken. Isn't he a chicken right there? Dude, they went hard on this. They really went hard on this. They went hard on this big time. Let's finish this real quick because it's almost done. Now the full video. I think I needed to see the full video, because I like to see full context. Now, anytime you're going to hear this from black people, they're going to say, hey, Any black person that feels that they've ever been discriminated against or racist tones sent to them, all they see is the monkey. They don't see the whole video. To hell with context. Now, do I believe Trump went ahead and said, I agree this? Possibly. Possibly not. What you want me to do is stand up here and say that it was just a targeted hit on the Obamas, and I don't believe it was a targeted hit on the Obamas. We'll run it again, okay? So you see. And that's the Secretary of the House. What's his name? What's homeboy's name? This is bad. What's his name? Speaker of the House. Yeah, Jeffries. Yeah, Hakeem Jeffries. Yes, Hakeem Jeffries. So he made Hakeem. Well, he didn't make it. Whoever did the video made Hakeem Jeffries a lemur. I think if this was an attack at somebody's ethnicity, or to call them actually monkeys, I think Hakeem Jeffries probably would have been a monkey flying with the Obamas right there earlier, or the apes, right? I don't understand this. Tell me, you leave a comment and let me know what you think. Because I figure if this is a racial hit, it should have Hakeem Jeffries as an ape also, and not as a lemur in this. Let's go again. She was a rhino. Okay. There is never a dull moment in this White House. There's never a dull moment with Trump. There's never a dull moment with this political season right now. It's not. Whether you got kids that are protesting, whether you got ICE knocking out windows of everybody's car, whether you got people calling ICE fascists and Nazis. I think we look at these things and we take a lot of this stuff out of context. They give us one piece of it and we run with it. Nobody found this video. I saw pictures of the Obama, but I didn't see anything about this video at all. Now you got Hakeem Jeffries, who is a lemur in this video. Y'all can't get over it. I got to play this over and over again, right? He's a lemur. And I say it like this again. If this was meant to be a racial thing, would Hakeem Jeffries be a lemur? Hold on. He just made they made Sleepy Joe a freaking what? What is that? He looks like an ape also. Hold on, let me see this. So you got Zoran Mandani in here, and he's a jackal. Wow. Oh, good God! They made Biden the freaking ape also. Biden's a freaking ape in this. They made Biden an ape, and then they made Kamala a turtle. So if this had racial intent done out of racial malice, would Biden be considered an ape eating a banana or a monkey? Wouldn't he be something different? I mean, he's a white guy. You wouldn't make him an ape, right? I think you would actually make him, what would you make him? You make him something different. This chat bubble up because I know people. You would have made him something different than an ape. This is bananas. I think this is crazy. You know what's worse about this is I truly believe that this wasn't done out of malice intent. It fit, and I don't believe it was done out of a racial motive. I don't believe it. I can't see it because all of the political adversaries on here all are animals, and those animals depict something. Now, if you say, okay, yeah, they're black, so he made them apes, or they were made apes because they feel like they're black people. But I'm like, why would they make the Obamas apes and then make Joe Biden an ape also? I may be 100% wrong about this. Listen, you don't have to agree with my commentary on this. This is just my take on the video. I had to search to get this video, and I found it. And I just brought it to you for you to make your decision. If you don't like it, I get it. But I kind of like I'm looking at this. And I don't condone calling anybody an ape, whether they black or whether they white. But we go watch the Planet of the Apes, though, don't we? And we root for Caesar, who's the king of the planet of the apes. Nobody got a problem with that. I don't know, man. I don't. See, maybe I feel different because I was looking at Blackish, the show, and they had Michelle Obama on there, and they treated her like a god on the show. They were coming, oh, Michelle Obama, and they're passing out and doing all this stuff. They gave more props to Michelle Obama than I saw other ABC shows give to Barack Obama. They kind of treated him like the passerby. But I'm wondering why they made Biden an ape if this was meant to be racial undertones. I mean, you could have made him something else, right? Now, you're going to hear the black people. I get it. The black people on the left, all the Democrats, you black Democrats out there, you guys are going to say, Leon, see, you condone his racial behavior and how he said, listen, I don't condone Trump's racial behavior. And I keep saying Trump isn't racist. He's classist. So when I say classist, Nicki Minaj, certain people get a chance to sit with him and in his presence. I even saw the way he handled kind of Patrick Bet-David the first time around. He was unsure about him because, Patrick Bet-David, Iranian, he's an Iranian guy. So, well, he's not Iranian. He's actually a Syrian, and he was born in Iran, but to Assyrian parents, but he's a Christian capitalist, proud about it, loves the country, served in the military, all the different things in the United States military. But I keep saying, if this was meant to be a racial play, why not? Why is Biden an ape? Why is he eating a banana? There's 100 different things you can make Biden right now that I can think of. I would have made Biden, okay? Outside of being an ape eating a banana. I don't know. In the jungle. And then I say again, if Hakeem Jeffries, another black constituent. Now, don't tell me Hakeem is light and he's mixed, so this is why. No, Barack Obama's mom is white, bro. Come on, stop it. Just stop it. Just stop it. He's darker. He came out the darker shade. The melanin one right there, but he still is. It doesn't change it. But why would we make him an ape also? Why make only the Obamas ape? See, I feel like the golden calves that we worship, or black people worship, or the left worships, they're so protected in a moat consisting of color, boundaries, and now we see Minnesota also a federal funds moat also, because you're stepping over there in their money, so that's why everybody they going crazy. They're not going crazy because they love immigrants, illegal immigrants. Don't get that cringe. They're going crazy over the money, yo.
Congratulations.
Somebody's stepping on their honey hole. I keep saying it. But this guy should have been made an ape, or even a monkey. You could have made him a chimpanzee if this was meant to be racist. And I'm a black person and I'm talking about this. Y'all can dislike me, hate me, be mad at me, say, oh, he's a traitor to his race, blah, blah, blah. I'm going to look at this with a critical mind. I'm going to look at this and think critically. I am. I'm not going to sit back and say, oh, he's racist, blah, blah, blah. See, you jokers, I already told you what he is. He's very selective. He's classist. Like, he has millions and billions of dollars. And honestly, do I think that he likes everybody? No, I don't believe he totally loves the country. I think he cares about this country deep-heartedly. And I also believe at the same time that, he's a money man. You can't be sitting down there and watching all these dudes get the bread in the federal office and they line their pockets and do all this stuff. You going to let them line? No, he going to let them take care of that stuff. And he's going to come after their bread and their money. But getting back to the topic, check this out. This is my take. Hakeem Jeffries should have been an ape if this is what you're going to do. If we're going to stick to the way of thinking, Hakeem Jeffries should be an ape. Or at least a chimpanzee. But the left is wild. They going crazy. Now, my opinion to end this out and close this segment out. to close this segment out. This is my total opinion. Was this the best choice of memeing someone? Nah. I think they could have did better than this. I think at the end of the day, they could have did a whole lot better of than any of this other stuff. They could have did it, but this is my opinion of it. I thought it was kind of funny. Yeah, y'all not gonna like that shit. Y'all gonna hate it. I thought it was a little hilarious. I think the sensitivity of black people when it comes to racism and race-related issues, which has already been incubated through the Democratic Party, a history that they've had of racial prejudice, but then now a honed-in mind that anything that comes their way, that even comes in and it looks remotely like that, it's coming and you're racist. Now, is there racism in this world, in this country? Yes, there is racism in this country. I just find it, and I've always found it hard to believe that we had a black president. The major cities that we deal with, Baltimore, I saw their young mayor. Chicago, their mayor, black mayor, he's a weird ass. Weirdo. Atlanta. You have so many cities throughout this country, major metropolitans, which have black mayors, which had black mayors for a long time. I know Atlanta has had a black mayor. Ooh, I think it's been over 40 years. And in those major cities like Baltimore, for example, the mayor buys $100,000 automobile to drive around in, and the kids can't even read. Look, you need to be at their school helping them read. I would feel embarrassed to say I'm the mayor of the city and the kids can't even read. You got 8th graders reading like 2nd graders, bro. So the power struggle for blacks in a position of power, African Americans, black Americans in that position of dominance, it's been consistent in our country. Oh my gosh. Now I would say the 60s. I would say the late 60s. Yeah. But of course they'll say, well, they were light skin color black, so they didn't really count. Damn, it's earlier than the 60s too, right? I remember stories I read of black congressmen. Like whew, early 1900s, late 1800s. But either way, context is always going to be king. Context is always going to be king. And when I sit back and I'm going to play this one more time, and you can draw your own conclusions. Like I said, Hakeem Jeffries is in this also, and he's a lemur. And Joe Biden's a monkey eating it. I don't know, man. Oh, guys. Hey, YouTube. We got one of our booty scratchers on here. Come on, man. Bro, you're gonna ignore the fact that they call Michelle Obama a monkey for years. Now, I agree with you on that. I don't agree with those Michelle Obama jokes. I don't agree with that. I don't like them. I don't agree with it. I don't think you have to call her a man or go. I think that's dirty. But they call him the orange guy. They call names to each other, but I don't agree with that. I don't agree with that. I don't like it. But we can't escape the fact that as we go through this video, there's other monkeys, apes that other people are depicted at in it. See, AOC's an ass. Now, does that have any relation to like like Puerto Rican thing? Is that I'm saying if you're gonna be racist, why not go the whole way? Why are we going half of the way? Why we only got them depicted as a ape? Why don't we now bring connotations in examples for every last person that's up here? Because AOC, shouldn't we call her? Shouldn't she be depicted as something too? Now, I'm just saying. I am just saying. This is my opinion. Now that jackal, damn that jackal, bro, that jackal. And there you go, Joe Biden, the monkey. I just say, and this is just my statement, and jokers can agree or disagree. If we're going for a racial play, this man should not be a monkey in here. He should not be an ape. And Hakeem Jeffries, like I say it again, should be a freaking ape in this, not a lemur. Now, I'm going to hear people say, Leon, you're defending them. You're making it everything Trump does and says true and acceptable. Bro, one thing you'll know about me, and this is how I stand with this. I am not for kids getting sex changes before they're even able to consent with a mature mind. I am not for men in girls' sports because I've got girls, and if I saw a boy in that sport, I would freak out. Nor going into girls' restrooms because I've seen that before when my kids were young, a trans woman walking into the female's restroom in Piedmont Park. I'm not for that, bro. I'm just not. See, the Democratic Party can't win people like me because I love my family and I love the family structure. I believe it kills black people when you keep saying, oh, it's okay to murder off kids and let's make it easier for us to do that. Matter of fact, we'll do it for free for you. Just show up here at 2 o'clock at your time frame and you can do it whenever you want to. You dwindle the black population. You dwindle it. These are the battles that really we should be fighting. And then when you take it a step further and you say that, hey, black men can marry black men, which black men can, and I know gay couples and lesbian couples, and they should. Listen, they love each other. That's what they want. They should do it. But understand when that message is continuously perpetrated and pushed, you reduce the amount of blacks that are actually, black Americans that are actually having babies. Now, why is that important? Because the latest statistic shows that in the next 5 to about 8 years, 12 to 15% of Europe will be predominantly Muslim. And they're not heavily educated people. Like they don't pride on heavy, like these degrees that we do in the West and so forth. No, it's about having families and growing and expanding that. So I feel like if you're going to compete with that, and the Chinese know it already, That's why they're doing what they're doing. That's why they lift that one-child rule, because they know they can't compete with other continents if they can't breed and have babies. And if you don't breed and have babies, eventually your society is going to dry off. Is that even possible? Yes, it is possible. Can white people now go dwindle in numbers because they're interracially marrying black people? Yes, that can happen. That's a different conversation. That's up to them. But I just say, as Americans, period, we need to have more babies. As Christians, period, we need to have more babies. We need to be birthing them left and right. Now, this is what I get. I get a person that'll leave a comment and he'll run. He don't say anything else. We can't have interesting or yeah. Yeah, okay. Thank you for sticking around. Enjoy the show. There's nothing else to really debate. I'm letting you think, letting you talk, then reply. Okay, go. Go ahead and reply. I got another segment I'm gonna get to. This is my show, not yours. Go ahead and reply. Hmm. So, just like everything else that we're dealing with in our country, context is just destroyed. When we say we want deportations, people say, "Oh, you want immigrants out?" Hell no. I come from a family of immigrants. I don't want immigrants out. I don't want immigrants out. Immigrants are the reason why we have a great country. I don't want immigrants out. I want the illegal ones out. You say, "Well, they're taking all the immigrants out." It doesn't matter. That's fear. And I'm sorry, I can't accept fear. I can't live by it. I can't, even if you show me, which I've seen before, some American citizens getting arrested. But damn, if you stay out the freaking way, they're not running in the house and taking you up. You're putting your butt in the damn way, and then you're getting snatched up. I've seen people who are naturalized citizens coming from places like Nigeria, Liberia. I've seen them get arrested, naturalized citizens, and then released within hours. So fear-based, fear-mongering thought process, not me. Not me. Not me. It ain't gonna never be me. I can't accept it. It's not the mind of Christ. It is not me. It's not me. Not me at all. So I'm gonna roll to the next segment of this. You're very much welcome to actually comment, and if you comment, I'll reply to your comment. We'll pull it back up again. But I couldn't help it because I went by KRS-One and he dropped this one dime right here, and I said, "Damn, he on it."
The smarter you get, it seems the dumber you get. The smarter our intellectuals become, the more cowardly they become. This has something to do with this colonial education we're getting, because I know some great black minds. You know, I'm in the university system. I see these minds. I talk. People, great minds. But that paycheck is going to dictate what's going to come out that mind. I'll come out your mouth of that mind.
And that paycheck is based off of that other piece of paper that they got to affirm their paycheck.
I got master's degree.
So therefore I get paid more.
I get paid more.
Therefore I'm controlled by your system.
I know the truth, but let me not speak it right now.
Nah, because I can't. I got to feed my family.
Right. Right. Now, feeding your family is way more important than speaking the truth to a people that's going to treat you like they did Dr. King. If there was a reward to speaking truth, more people would. The true human resource is the mind. We never lost our lands. We lost our minds.
Yeah. Now, I don't agree with, just like with Trump, because everybody, you got to say it. I didn't agree with everything that Trump does, because if you say anything like, oh, I agree with that portion. Oh, you agree with him? You agree with everything he says. Oh, wow.
Oh, no.
And I've never agreed with everything Trump does or says. I never did. But that point right there that KRS-One made is so true. I've seen the smarter these guys come out with their college degrees, their PhDs. I saw one guy had like 2 PhDs. I'm like, nigga, stupid. And you still don't make over 150K. I'm like, if I get 2 PhDs and I got a master and then I got this, don't tell me I did it all for the education. Don't tell me I did it all for the nookie. Hell no. Hell no. I need bread with that. But you did it because you wanted to gain a certain status in society. And that status required you to have a degree. And not just any degree, a higher echelon degree. And I'm going to surprise you with that. That's the deception of society. That's the deception of it. Matter of fact, that's probably even deeper, the deception in the black culture. It was good for some time, but now we're supposed to be teaching our children to go become plumbers, electricians, get more technical, deal with technology on the side, and that's not even wielding. No, it's go to school, get your 4-year. They can't take it from you. Guess what? They can take it from you. They just don't give you a job, and it just dwindles away from you. Nobody cares about it 5 years later. The knowledge that you learn becomes obsolete. So let's go. I don't agree with sex changes for boys competing in girls' sports. Thank you. At the same time, I don't agree with honoring racism or racist figures. Okay, let's slow this down. We're going to break it down. Systematic racism is still embedded in our institutions. Take real estate or job applications, for example. What does my race have to do with whether I qualify for a loan or a job? Okay, we're going to break it into pieces. We agree on the first part. I don't agree with sex changes for kids and boys. We're all on the same page with that. At the same time, I don't agree with honoring racism or racist figures. I agree with you. I don't agree with honoring racist figures, but I don't agree with taking the statues and monuments that were made for these racist figures. I don't believe that taking that and destroying that or putting that in the back, it means, I don't think that's a good look also. Because just like we advocate and we push and we say, listen, they lose our history, or we forget black history, or we forget the slave trade, or they rewriting it because they're removing these things out of schools, or removing that education out of what our children learn in schools. They need to be learning about the transatlantic slave trade. They need to be learning about these things. We also need to learn about racist history. We need to learn, and we need to have that on full visual display. And the reason why we need to is because if we don't have these things, we don't learn and recognize that this is where we came from. So we don't repeat that. And the people that are there, we're going to slow this down. I want you to understand. They are still sons and daughters of America. Whether they represent the time when America fought against itself and the fabric of our country was ripped. But they also represent a time when black slave owners paid the Confederacy to crusade against the North. We can't pick and choose what we have in our history that we display. These men, these Confederate men, and I looked at the Confederacy, and I studied the Confederate flag, and as I started to see, the problem that we have embedded with racism is that we think that they went to Africa to grab slaves and bring them over and have them just work because they were black. Numerous books have shown it, and I love reading. Matter of fact, I probably should go grab one my wife has next to her dresser right now, which actually shows that slavery was an economic issue when it first started. You're talking about not having the mechanical things that they needed to actually pick the cotton, so they brought in slaves to pick them. And when they went to go get them, the other black people that were there actually brought them to the slave catchers. Now, we don't need to forget at the same time when they brought them over, the reason why it became a racial issue is after blacks were freed. You still had poor white Americans in the South who recognized and saw that in our oppression, there was a banding together that took place, and you started to have schools and communities and towns. And y'all like to talk about Tulsa and Black Wall Street and all this. Let's talk about that came together. Do you think that they were mad at those blacks? Because we can't erase that history. And I'm not going to try to erase that history. There's no downplaying to it. You think they were mad at them because they were blacks? No, they were mad at them because they were getting bread, bro. They were mad at them because they were getting the green, the cheddar. And they were happy together. They had their doctors, they had their own teachers, they had their own schools, they had their own developing school education system. Why do you think they call it Black Wall Street? They had their own Wall Street. Stores and pharmacies. That cohesiveness came in and they saw it and they hated it and disliked it. But the black issue, the ethnicity issue didn't start off an ethnicity issue. It was about the bread. And I'm going to show you how this twisted and changed, because it was all about color after that happened. And they used color and they said, oh, these black people, they lynching the blacks, they doing this. We're not ignoring that. But we're not going to also ignore the fact that going into the 60s, the late 60s, no, mid 60s, just before Martin Luther King came on the scene, black people had vibrant buses. We had vibrant schools. Joseph Jackson, if you don't know who Joseph Jackson is, I think he's the head of the Southern Baptist Coalition. Joseph Jackson, conservative black, supporter of the Republican Party, up to that time before it fractioned and blacks went following Martin Luther King over to the Democratic side, gave Martin Luther King 2 buses when he brought about the Montgomery bus boycott. He said, let me give you 2 buses. So these black people, they that are not riding the bus, they don't have to walk. They can take these buses. Now, at that time, the Southern Baptist coalition composed of churches and pastors in the thousands. Martin Luther King turned it down. He said, I didn't want the buses. I want the money. This is history. I'm not making it up. You can go search it. And at that twist, at that turn right there, when Martin Luther King became friends with Lyndon B. Johnson and they rubbed shoulders after JFK was assassinated, come on, bro. Keep up with me. And they rubbed shoulders. It became about the money. It became about black money. It became about black financial empowerment. It became, how can we tap into their pockets and get their money and cipher out the hundreds of millions of dollars that we already see they creatively make in their communities. They make it through educating their own teachers. See, segregation did 2 things. People want to say it made us free and we were free. Nigga, we were free before. We were free. We were happy. It wasn't no thing. Jokers were happy. Segregation actually hurt us the most because it ripped away all the infrastructure that blacks started to build and put together. And it said, listen, you can't have a separate infrastructure outside of our infrastructure. It's got to be this infrastructure, and everybody got to be on board with it. And MLK was like, cool, because we want to be living in the white picket fence houses. We want to have all those things. So when it's not fair to just say that it's just a racial issue or it was a racial issue. It didn't start as that. And now it's more economic than anything else. Now I'm going to tackle your points as they go too, because I want to be fair to you. Okay, so let's go. Let's make this a little bit larger so I can mess around and get down. Ooh. Okay, cool. do this. Boom, boom, boom. I love this. Look at this. Look at my behind. All right, bro. Okay, he said I don't agree with the sex change. Da 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 da. Honor racism. Got it. Take a real estate. I don't agree with you. I agree with you on that. I agree with you. There are entities out here on in the real estate side, institutions, and just being in real estate, I know we've had it before. Institutions that discriminated against us as Black people, 60s, 70s, going into it. I agree 100%. Okay, what was my race have to do with me qualifying for a loan? At one point in time, it was expressed by these institutions, if you read and you study further, that Black financial, this happened more, and it's funny when this happened after King was assassinated, after we have segregation, after we have after the Montgomery bus boycott. This happened when they brought everybody together. Now it's the question becomes, I don't think these Black people have the money to actually pay. My financial risk is higher because they're coming in here looking for money to buy these things, and I don't think they're employable. Part of that was true, part of that was wrong, was racism. And I agree with you 100%. Part of that was true. To systematically say that we are still in that place is the argument that I don't agree with. Because there's several reasons why. During that point in time, we didn't have Black billionaires. We didn't have Black millionaires that made tons of money that can actually shape and change the course of Black society. But in essence, right now, they're just selling out people for the next dollar. The same breath that they say we're for Black people, they use that same money, their same earnings to do whatever they're going to do. And it's not for pro-Black. Okay, you can't dismiss the reality when an organization like the Ku Klux Klan was literally created to terrorize and subjugate hatred, makes oppression unique in the U.S. You know, the KKK is very unique because I believe, and this is my perspective, and you can share your own perspective on this. I believe the KKK is a product of the 60s, which we know already, but history shows it came out of the Democratic Party. I mean, the sheer phrase Ku Klux Klan is actually a play on Greek fraternity words. Blacks didn't have fraternities at that point in time. And if you look at the structure of the KKK, it resembles so much of white Masonic order. Matter of fact, to the point that I think it is one of the largest white Masonic leaders who rewrote, I think, Dogma and Dogma. What's the full book? I read some of it. Was actually a KKK member. I agree with you on that. I agree. It is very unique. Oh yeah, 1974. Yes, Dixie Democrats. So when I sit back and I listen to, and it's hard for me to say, hey, I see the same party that we're out here, Democrats. I believe the same party that we really should be behind. You should say, okay, the Democrats are for the people. I don't believe they're for the people. I believe they're for everybody. And when you make everybody, you know the term, I think Jesse Jackson coined it, Rainbow Coalition. Part of the change, though. Yeah. And that's you know, and that's kind of where which one is part of the Dixie Democrat? Oh, you saying the Dixie Democrats changed? Are you saying that they changed? They were not originally, they stopped being Dixie Democrats? Tell me if that's what you're trying to say, or it's been a switch. I've heard the theory, oh, well, white racists went over to the Republican Party, and I guess some of the other Dixie Democrats who went over to the Republican Party, the other Republicans came over to the Democratic Party. There's nothing in history that shows that. I know that there were three senators that were racist senators that switched. They switched from the Democratic Party to the Republican Party when Martin Luther King came on board and was supported by Lyndon B. Johnson for the rollout that he did. The far right was created. That's the far right. That's where the far right is. I guess you're saying the Dixie Democrats, that's where the far right is, or Republican side, that's where the far right is. I'm not getting what you're saying right there. But I do understand that history. If you Google it, how many senators switched parties on the heels of segregation that were considered Dixie Democrats? When I researched it, I only saw 3. Hey, baby girl. Hey, I'm streaming. Oh, okay. Oh, which one? I'm literally on the screen right now, so I don't know which one you're talking about. Oh, okay. Hold on 1 second. Let me go do this. Give me 1 second. All right. Hey, y'all, give me 1 second. Let me go get this for her. Gotta stop for wife. Gotta stop for the wife. When she said she need it. And I don't play. Yeah. Yeah, she needed this. Gotta get it. Yeah, boom. Wife is first. Everything else is second. Well, except for God. God is always first. But yeah, man. But I can see what you mean and how you would feel that way. I can see that. Hold on. Far right. Yes, it does. Look at the diversity in party. And I can, I would love the diversity in the party argument for the Democratic Party. I would love it if within that diversity, it didn't bring in known radicalized individuals in our society. Like when I say known radicalized individuals, I'll give you an example. Let's consider people like Ilhan Omar, for example. She came from Somalia. There have been ties that have been clearly spoken of when money comes from Minnesota and goes to Somalia, and the mainstream media doesn't talk about it. Now, if you think I'm making this up, just go to YouTube, look up Minnesota Channel 9 and 2015 Minnesota fraud. They were talking about this in 2014, 2015. And it's unfortunate, but when we look at Islam, we do see that a lot of the radicalized Islamic leaders, they tend to have these ties to our Islamic or Muslim politicians. Like when you turn around and you make the whole party a party, in that case, of equal opportunity, which is great. And I love that, equal fight. But I feel it's done more in word than actual deed. I feel like it's done more in word than deed. Let's see this other one. Boom. Okay, I've seen it firsthand in my family's history. Our own government went against us. Banks denied loans in black family neighborhoods were redlined, and programs that could have helped us were cut. And I never say that. I'm not saying that redlining never existed. I'm never saying that redlining never existed. That's not never what I'm saying. What I'm saying is that the thing that you argue about, these banks that are redlining, in the 60s, the late 60s, early 70s, we had banks already that were black-owned banks that loaned to black families to buy houses. The push for segregation put a lot of these black-owned banks out of business. I'm here in Atlanta. In College Park, we had at least 2 to 3 black-owned banks that spread money in the community. Spread money in the community. But when we get on the notion that we needed segregation, that we needed to have the government helping us bring these things apart or to give us a better life, it was a catch-22. Like, it bit us as well as it set us in some false sense of equality that we already had. We are already equal. Nobody tells us that we're equal. Nobody gives us equality. God has given us equality. You can't get equality from a government. And that was the deception. Just like Eve in the garden. God, the serpent said, if you eat this apple, you'll end up becoming like gods. Guess what? They were already like gods. The apple just gave them the knowledge between good and evil. Read the book. We were already free. See, when I'm in Atlanta, and if I go to Buford in Atlanta, Atlanta's Buford has, man, I'm gonna tell you, if you want Korean cuisine, they got it. Some of the best Korean cuisine out here. If you want Vietnamese food, the best Vietnamese food. If you want to go to an African club and you just want to party, the best African clubs. And if you go to Buford, you'll see that these communities exist within themselves. They're not segregated from Atlanta as a whole or from Buford as a whole. They still are in Buford. They still pay taxes to the city of Buford. Oh, it's not city of Buford. Yeah, it is city of Buford. But it's Buford. I digress. But they still pay taxes. They found a way how to live in society, still keep their culture, still appreciate the culture of America, open sound businesses, but not be reliant on the system to get them to where they got to get to. So we could have done that. That could have been a possibility. It should have happened, but it didn't. It didn't. We have this desire to be accepted as black people, accepted by white people, accepted by these people, and it's our demise. It's the thing that is killing and ripping us apart. I'm telling you, programs that could have helped us were cut. The FBI targeted our leaders while white supremacist violence was ignored. Generations of black Americans, including mine. Okay, I'm going to slow that down because you said a couple things. While we were, the FBI targeted our leaders. Yeah, quid pro quo. I get it. Martin Luther King, MLK, Malcolm X. Yes, I agree. The FBI did that under Hoover. We've had so many times since then, since J. Edward Hoover has stepped down or was removed from the FBI. So many opportunities to shape and mold the FBI or these internal governing systems in the United States to a place where equality, where okay, I don't even like, where there's a sense of like justice, I would say, a sense of justice. That was back then. When I keep telling people we keep holding on to this, the FBI is not investigating black people and their spending habits and what they're doing and who should be black leaders. They don't do that right now. I'm going to play this video. I'm going to show you this video where the FBI is focusing its efforts at right now. Because when you say they left white supremacists alone, you're wrong. There are multiple documentaries of undercover FBI agents right now within the last, not even this minute, going back all the way to the early 80s. David Koresh. You remember Oklahoma bombing? David Koresh? They were already investigating these people, these white supremacist far right people. But I keep telling people, when you point your finger looking at them, you got to realize, as black people, we got far left people also that are floating around here too, as militant as they are. And maybe you said, oh, they came about out of the Black Panthers and to defend black people. I can hear that argument and say, okay. But this video right here, because I study some of this stuff and it intrigues me so much. Prior FBI agent talks briefly about the level of training, the intricate thought process and planning that some of these far right militias already have in place. Oh, they've been steady. They on these guys like white on rice, bro. They on them. That's the boogeyman that black people keep walking around and fearing. Fear, God can't do nothing with fear. I keep telling people, like, our truth is not even in our color. It is in our spiritual heritage. It is in our spiritual identity. Because all of this stuff, man, I could walk into when I walk into a cemetery and I look at headstones, I can't tell who was black or white. I just can't tell. I can't tell unless somebody in their family rolls up to me and gives me a picture of them. I can't tell. Okay, so the FBI targeted our leaders while white supremacist violence was ignored. Generations of black Americans, including mine, have been fighting against the system meant to hold us back. This isn't theory. This is this is lived reality, bro. Honestly, and I'm gonna break this down. Your lived reality is the framework of your mind. You ever seen the movie Matrix? Matrix has so many significance on so many different levels. You can only go based upon the framework of your mind, and you gather the framework of your mind from your culture and exterior. Culture meaning what we love, what we do, how we celebrate. You make that argument, and my argument against that is we killed ourselves through our music, through the people that we say were our leaders, that were no more than the freaking musicians and actors that didn't deserve the right to be leaders. We're the only culture where our leaders are musicians or artists or actors. When they say, listen, leaders of the black community, we don't have doctors, we don't have lawyers, we have politicians now that they get bread. Representative Presley, $8 million net worth. Her husband's 10 year in as a felon. He gets to be in Boston City Hall as a felon. Now he opens up a consulting firm, and after she's been in office, 2-3 years, she's $8 million deep in wealth. Those people ain't for us. They not sitting down here running and giving us. They trying to get that bread, and the crazy part, she making her money off of real estate, simultaneously trying to put through some type of rental law that keeps rent down. Her portfolio is cash flowing off that same rent. The insanity is crazy. We keep looking at them when you should be looking at you. See, why is it okay as an individual? And this is my argument. I'm going to go more into what you say. Why is it that it's okay for us to have the Michael Jackson man in the mirror perspective? I'm talking to the man in the mirror. I'm asking him to change his race, internal reflection. But then we say, okay, reflect internally. But when it comes to our community as black people, we don't reflect internally. We reflect externally. We look at the external factors that move us. We don't look at the internal factors that shape us. Rap music, as great as it was the most derogatory, decaying portion of the black culture. Because the same way it gave us music and vibes and something to roll out to, something to mac to your next girl to, something to play in the background. As much as it gave us all of that, it also chipped away at our soul and our spirit. It gave us an identity that God never intended us to have. Oh man, you a nigga, you a thug. We thugging like Pop. Oh no. Nah. It's we the black Godfather, like Jay. No. We in the streets. We in the streets. My president is black and my Lambo is what? Come on, bro. We did that to ourselves. We kept incubating that, rolling that around, and it became what we have right now. See, there is a spiritual law, and I keep saying this, and I'm going to continuously say this. What you hear the most, what you listen to the most, what you watch the most, and what you say the most is going to determine your life. That's why they say the top 5 people that you're around, the reason they say they shape your life is not because you're just standing around them and you're in their presence. It's because you begin to start to talk like them, to listen to what they listen to see what they're seeing. Whether you got a dude that, a friend of yours he love porn and he showing you pictures, and then you adapt that same lifestyle. All these things begin to shape us as individuals. So now we don't need to be a target for the government or for white race or anything like that. We destroy ourselves. There was a song written in the 80s called Self-Destruction. You're headed for self-destruction. Self-destruction. We're headed for we were telling ourselves the right things, and somewhere around the line, we sold our music out to people that did not look like us and told them to, hey, find artists to help entertain us. And then we blame them for the artists they bring in, which shape the bad music. They're ignoring him for years. So that's why I say self-analyzation doesn't start with the white man or far-right militias, because you ain't ready for a far-right militia. You're not ready for that white supremacist far-right. Some of us who know how to shoot, roll, we've been in the trenches, dug ditches, stuff like that. We understand. But for a large part, our people don't. Our people don't. We're more scared of guns than we are of learning how to properly use these things. They ignored him for years, and he was on the radar 3 years prior to the bombing. And I agree with you on that. And right after that, they put so much intense pressure on these guys and finding out everything about them. I agree with you on that. I agree. We can agree on that. We can agree. I think that's very similar to the way that they ignored what happened with 9/11. Same thing. But right now, that's not a conversation. That wasn't a conversation of Biden's presidency. It wasn't a conversation of Barack Obama's presidency, strengthening the infrastructure of our country to be able to warn out threats domestically and internationally. We're not about that time no more. We're trying to get back to that, but it's just too much fighting and much fighting going on, and we wonder what's happening. Like, is that I ignore yet? Why do I think this? Okay, look, I'm not saying we don't have accountability issues in our community. See, and that's the thing about accountability. This is my thing. Accountability. We have accountability issues. And because we have accountability issues, the failure to hold not just the community accountable, not just the artist accountable. Yeah, he was for the 90 crime bill. I agree. I agree. But he became part of the Rainbow Coalition. He served his time and they put him in the office. I agree. See, when I sit back, I'm letting Biden off either. Yeah, I agree. Part of it. But still, with all of these factors and people externally, knowing what we know right now, do we still change? No, we don't. We still don't change. Our music is still as vulgar and degrading to the women. Sexy Red still talking about her butthole. All these things still popping off. Nothing's changed, bro. Nothing's changed. If anything, it's got worse. So when you hear black people like me say, I can't join the Democratic Party, it's not because I don't love my black people. It's not because I don't want to be in a coalition of black people. I honestly don't even care about the homosexuality and the homosexuality and trans people. I don't really care about that. I do care now because they're not really doing anything to stop the decay of the black population. Like, they're not doing that. If anything, they're pushing it further along, and then they're waving at you and telling you, we got to look at the man over here. Honestly, if Barack Obama wanted to change something, abortion should have been one of the top things. Black people not having enough babies. Muslims are making more babies than black Christians or even black people, period. Period. I got a cousin. She became Muslim. She was raised Christian, became Muslim. And I studied Islam also. Became it and said, no, it's not for me. Not for me. We spend the most money, but don't own anything. That's a general statement. I think we spend the most money because, let's be for real, when you ain't never had money before and you get a little bread, you're going to trick off. That's just the way it's going to be. You're going to trick off a little bit. And if you're smart enough, you got somebody in your corner going to say, hey, draw it back a little bit. We know you're making all this money, but there's bigger and better things to do. I can excuse that first trick off for a year or so. Okay, I can excuse that. I believe is not so much not owning everything. And that's a general statement because I've seen some very affluent black people who own a lot of good stuff. As an agent, as an investor, as a broker, I have black clients that have bread. They own multiple buildings. They got money. They make the money. Okay. Now they may be asset rich and dollar poor sometimes, but they not in a deficit with our check coming each month. No. Family live good, eat good, all of that. That's a general statement. The problem is not we. The problem is the ones who learn don't share. They don't share at all. The ones who get a little bit of information and they learn how to make a couple moves, they don't share nothing at all. You don't know certain things not because you're not exposed. My brother said something really funny to me one time, man. He said, yo, I think this Joker crazy, this Vocal boy. He went to Emory, just to give you context. He went to Emory. I'm not going to give his whole history, but he's got heavy consultant background. He's consulted in the government. He's done those different things. Nobody held him back because he was black. He consulted in the government on high levels. Okay, building out tech projects for him, payroll projects. I'm not going to go too deep into it. But we had this discussion and we discovered he was doing something with his credit. It was something. I said, bro, where did you learn to do that from? He said, yo, man, I learned it from over here. My financial advisor told me, blah, blah, blah. Show me. He shows me, blah, blah. He shows it to me. He's like, now, don't you share that with nobody. We don't own TV channels because, again, education, money, just like real estate, requires a certain level of education. It's not easily mastered because there's so many different areas of it. Okay, what billion-dollar shoe companies we own? I agree with you on that, and I'm telling you why. To build wealth, to grow wealth, to these are two different skill sets. How can I explain it? In these different skill sets, when it comes to wealth building, some people master some areas better than others. I've seen people great at building assets, but they really suck at really, I would say, protecting their assets. Because protecting your asset is a different skill set than building your asset. You go to a different mindset. You have a different set of consultants. When we talk in real estate about building and finding property, that's different than when we talk about how do we secure and maintain those properties. But if nobody teaches you, nobody will learn. And when you begin to teach them, we have bad teachers. I keep saying this. Robert Kiyosaki wrote a book called Fake Money, Fake Assets, Fake Teachers. Go get the book. I got the book. I read the book multiple times. I got the audio to it. And it's more prevalent, more important now. Because you can't learn nothing because you have fake teachers. And you invest your money in fake ass assets. You think sneakers are a real asset? My wife told me to start buying gold back in the day, and I didn't listen back then. But when I started listening, you see what silver is running right now? Damn, I'm happy I listened to my wife. I had to get in there and to learn it. Even if you say you read, it's more important for us to teach while we read. It's more important for us to teach while we learn. When you teach, when you learn something and you teach it, you become better at what you do. You become much better at what you do, implementing it for yourself personally. Now, the jewels that you get can always be dropped for somebody else. See, the thing that we don't want to do is create the value. I'm going to take this down to the basic place. I'm going to take this down and make this basic. Okay. And I'm going to stop calling you Booty Scratcher because you jumped on here, man. Appreciate it, Dominic. I'm going to take this and you teach your kids, and I teach my kids too, man. I try to teach my kids the same thing. Everything, I'm like, hey, what are you doing with this? How much money are you going to give here? How much are you going to put? Why do we have 10%? Why do we have 15%? What does that mean? The thing that we avoid doing, which is sharing information, is actually the key to actually wealth, to be honest with you, to building wealth. Just like you teach your kids, a book teaching kids how to actually build wealth is a stronger asset than anything else. See, they get rich and we think going to or buying a real estate property makes you rich. No. Real estate only makes you rich because it's a hard asset. It'll make money just like if you put it in gold or any other commodity. Now, the biggest commodity that we have that we do not use is the commodity of our mind. Because in our mind, we are creators and we create. We create just like God created, just like our Father created. He said, light be, grass, trees, whether you believe it or not. If you don't even believe that story still is a good example of how to create. Because now the act of creating will bring about wealth and sustainability. So when we teach people and we don't tell them that what you need to do is be a creator, and we make fun of it in the social media part. We say, oh yeah, you're a social media creator. A creator of anything, bro. Robert Kiyosaki makes more money off of his digital assets than he does his real estate. A lot more money. I got the Rich Dad book. I got the Rich Dad board game. I was playing the Rich Dad board game. Mid 90s when it came out, mid to late 90s when it came out. I just happened to have family, an uncle, an aunt, people that were in my corner that said, hey, play this game. We playing this tonight. We playing cash flow quadrant tonight. See, that digital asset, at that time it wasn't digital, it was hard. That asset has paid him years and years and years and years. But when we are locked into fast money, quick cash, and nobody else needs to know what we know, we got to move like soldiers in silence. We only do an injustice to our people, and worse, we do it to our children, because we can't take what has been given to us, that knowledge, that revelation that God gave us, that clarity on how to make that thing work, and share it with the world and document it and make it available for our children and our children's children. That's generational wealth. What's the first book you got? Rich Dad was the first book I got, bro. That was one of my very first books I read, was Rich Dad, Poor Dad. You ain't gonna like this. The second one was The Art of the Deal by Donald Trump. And I read that when I was 15 years old. Whether he ghostwrote it, I read every book he had since then. Didn't care. One thing I knew at that point in time, black people, rappers, I told you I love hip hop. I was in it, man. I loved it. I couldn't go without hearing Donald Trump's name thrown in some rap lyric and seeing him on the screen with some rapper and something like that. So it's hard for me to sit back and to say some of the things that the people want to say when I can talk to people that never read his book. Dude, I got his book right here. I got the first copy that I got when I was 15 right here on my shelf. No lie. But I also got a bunch of other ones too. So how many books do our people read? Because the greatest way to steal something from somebody and hide something from somebody is to put it in a damn book. I started wholesaling real estate at 23 in Nashville. That's when I started learning how money works. And you did it at 23, and you did it in Nashville. It's a lot of other people that once you get hold of that and you share it, you should be sharing. I toured wholesaling. I showed people how to do wholesaling. Damn, the only thing I ain't got right now that I don't have up here that I didn't tie to my profile was a wholesaling book. Because I believe if you want to make cash, the fastest way is actually to get into wholesaling and learn it. You learn real estate, you learn how to make fast cash, and it may come slow for some people, but once you get it together, at least you know the systems and you have an understanding of real estate. Wholesaling made me look at vintage reselling, which made me look at a resale business. It grew a lot of different things out of there. But this is the point I'm at. If we don't put knowledge like that on paper and make it available to people to get, and because we're so concerned with, oh, they're gonna think I'm scamming them. They're gonna think, there's a lot of these real estate gurus out here. F those motherfuckers. I don't care. I don't care no more. Because the more it's kept in silence by people, the more people that need it. Some kids don't even need to go to school. They don't need to be in college. They need to be out there knocking doors and learning how to sell. But that's the lie. That's the lie. The greatest people in our society, they got to be PhDs. Oh, they got to be masters. Oh, you don't have a word to say unless you got a bachelor's. You didn't go to school. Oh, you don't have anything. No, you're not significant. And now we see as the economy shifts and adjusts, there's a ton of people getting laid off. Now, I got to play this last part real quick, and I'm going to play this, and you tell me.
What I've been talking about is far-right extremism, white supremacy. There's some malicious stuff in there, too, anti-government, because I infiltrated it. But I've got mentors, peers, and people I've mentored that are working the other side, and radical jihadists. Or black separatists or far left. There's a lot of people being radicalized online. Yeah. And especially with AI these days. So go back to what I said from what I saw. This isn't the be-all, end-all. Every situation is different, a case-by-case basis. But I saw a lot of, again, somebody who's an outcast, has a hard time belonging, right? Can't get a partner, probably been bullied, and they want to belong. And then they dive on these phones at night, and they go down these rabbit holes of hate. And you could, I don't know if Gab's still in or not, but you could go to Gab and go to a group that's called 14 Words. That is white supremacy. Right. They're referring to the 14 word coined by David Lane, synonymous through white supremacy. Or you could hop on Whites Only. I wonder what you're going to find there. And they will take some real stories and they will do propaganda videos to suck you in. And then you start meeting like-minded people. And I'm telling you, the stuff that they blast is like vile. But I know people that are working the other side, and it's the same thing.
His armchair expert. Look, you can follow his podcast. Shout out to the creator. That full. I think I watched about 25 minutes of the full length video, and it's somewhere around like a full hour. But he's a previous FBI agent, and then went undercover and just starts talking about everything that he saw. And it's amazing to see how well trained some of these guys are. See, what I keep saying, when we sit back and we look at the black you look at Donald Trump. Those guys don't like Donald Trump. These far right extremists, they don't like Trump. They don't like Trump is more, you would call, people keep saying he's right. Honestly, I'm going to tell you, I believe, and I know for a fact, history shows it, this dude has contributed more to the Democratic side before he ever became a Republican. The money he gave to Republicans, if you Google it, you'll find out so small. He would have ran as a Democrat if the Republican Party was, he would have ran as a Democrat if the Democratic Party wasn't so far left. If there wasn't so much compassion without logic. That's the best way. Far right to me. Oh, shit. Woo! Most of the people on the far right, you don't know. That's the best way to put it. Most of the people on the far right, you really don't know. There's no far right podcast that's out there. There's not. They don't move or play by the same games, honestly. The only reason I've been able to even learn, like jumping on podcasts like that, and I mean, there's a lot of stuff in YouTube you can go look through and see. People say, what's this guy? Nick Florentez is far right. I don't believe Nick Florentez. I believe he does have essence of far right. Like he has people that are on the far right that back him. I definitely do. Tyler Green from Georgia, yeah, could be, you know. My point in saying this is because I don't focus on the far right. I don't. But God calls certain people to speak certain things, bro. I can't speak anything other. Jesus said it. I only say what my Father tells me to say. And then y'all wonder why he said what he said in the scripture. I only say what my Father tells me to say. That's it. Yeah, I mean, and there are people who are podcasters, commentators, who get down, that look like me, that get down with researching the far right. I'm just not one of them. I've learned enough to know that the self-destruction that we are our worst enemies. That don't worry about them, honestly. And the reason why you don't put your focus on them is because your mind is already. This is my opinion, and I've seen this. I've seen black people, handle certain white people with a level of callousness. That's the best way to put it. And I know the person, and I'm like, that guy, he's more black power. He like black women. He like black food. He go to black churches, and he white. And you treat him like he a far right guy. And he looking at you like, okay. He love the culture. He loves the culture. I seen him, not just multiple ones. They love the culture. But when we make them into effeminate, weak guys because we say, oh, you got to accept everything that we stand for if you come to this side. And it's not fair. It just ain't fair to them. It ain't fair to them. It's like me. It's like somebody saying, oh, Leon, what? You black. You like gangster music. There was a point in time I love gangster music, but I don't like it. I despise it right now. I despise it. I've despised it for years once I understood what it does. Steve Bannon. I haven't seen Steve Bannon mentioned in any far right meetings. Now I'm getting into a place that I don't really want to get into, honestly. And it's all Steve Bannon. Okay, everybody on this far right conversation, bro. I didn't come to have this far right conversation. The far right issue has tiers to it. Okay, there's tiers to it. There are people on the right that believe, far right, that believe white people should just be segregated from black people. We've seen that. CNN doesn't hesitate on showing people that started towns and do that. They're not saying black people need to die or they need to be moved from the United States. They're saying we want to have our own place. We want to keep our culture. We want to keep our ethnicity. We want to keep our white family and line going. And honestly, bro, I can't be mad at them for that. And people don't like that. Some people don't understand it. I can't. Because I've met equally other black people that just want to keep, they're just, I met black mothers that won't let their children, their boys, date white girls. I've met black fathers that won't let their sons touch a white girl. I've seen that. Or daughters date a white boy. I've seen that. That because in their mind, it's like, I want to maintain the purity of us being black. I only like black. I don't want to come to Thanksgiving and see this white boy sitting down there, the white boy is whatever he's doing. You know, I don't want to do that. That's why racism won't die. And honestly, racism, this is why it's so funny to me. Racism is a spirit. Just like pornography is a spirit, just like murder is even a spirit. Not killing out of the need for survival, but just straight homicidal murder is a spirit. Rage. What else? Homosexuality. They don't want to talk about that. You can say what you want to. I don't care. You have certain desires that go against the norm. When I say the norm, you said people. This is the problem with the Democrat side. This is why I can't go there, because there is no norm. Because the question when I get into debates with them is, what do you mean by the norm? We're fluent, gender fluent. All of this is fluent. Things are changing. Society is adjusting. They felt the same way about that in Rome. They felt the same way about that in Rome. This is not brand new. Those same races stand by Christianity, and that's true. Those same races do stand by Christianity. But it doesn't stop me from knowing the true, authentic Jesus. It never stopped me. And it didn't stop me because I had a personal experience. I didn't sit back and say, these white dudes are, and in that personal experience, I grew and I understood and I recognized how Christianity was weaponized. How it was weaponized with the slaves, how it was weaponized in the churches in the 60s. Damn, is weaponized right now. But does that stop me from having a true, authentic relationship with Jesus? Because Jesus wasn't white; he was Jewish, and honestly, he didn't look like the Jews that we have here, which are more Baltic European Jews, or they have that European Jew feature. He wasn't. And when you get even deeper into it, you find out that the book wasn't even written in English. It was written in Arabic, Aramaic, and Greek later. Earlier parts of the book, of course, the Torah, that's Hebrew, So the words that we get in the English language, you literally have to go back to, in some cases, to avoid the propaganda and the weaponization that some pastors provide. And there are some good teachers out there, but there's some really bad, and there's more bad ones than good ones. But to really understand what certain words mean, you know who is for all these things you just named Israel. I'm not even getting an Israel deal, bro. Both parties fund them. I'm not getting an Israel deal, and I got my reasons for it. I mean, let Candace Owens run that train, bro. At the end, I don't. It doesn't do anything. It doesn't help the situation. It doesn't. It creates more division and hate. That's my personal opinion. It is not. I mean, I know that most of the Jews that were there, they're European background, but I also know when they started Israel in the 50s, they didn't do genetic tests on everybody that showed up. Okay? And we just leave it like that. But at the end of the day, if you still take that old scripture, if you still take those books, you still take what Paul wrote, if some Christians still believe Matthew is an apostle because they say he's an apostle in church. He was the last of all apostles. He didn't even meet Jesus. See, it takes this individual studying to actually know that, to realize that the words that we have, they don't carry the same power in English as they did in Aramaic or in Greek. We say the word salvation and we let it roll off, and we think that's a good and warm, fuzzy feeling because you go to the altar, you fall off, and the pastor take $5 from you. Where Zoe is the real word for salvation. I loved it and studied it so much, named my daughter Zoe. Because it's the God type of life. They don't tell you that when you go to the altar. They don't tell you that you're laying down your sins for the God type of life. You're saying that the life that Jesus had is the same life that I have in me, which is miracle working, raising from the dead, healing, relationship with God, and it's all personal. And it's no man can sit back and be like, oh, no, you got to do this. There's no step-by-step program. Like, you do this step there and you do that step there. No. But how many black people go to church and they give their money to the pastors and they walk away with that belief and that idea? I I gotta represent the real Jesus. I gotta say, hey man, shoot. Honestly, they were like, you cuss too much. I get it. God ain't kicking me out of heaven. He ain't getting rid of me because I cuss a couple times. I cuss sometimes. Oh, what the heck? But the religious people who resemble the Pharisees and Sadducees do exactly that. They make you feel condemned. They make you feel less of. They make you feel like you can't do this. The reason, I keep saying, the reason I never had any problem with Trump is because I recognized that in history, the leaders that did shit, they wasn't accepted by the majority. Honestly, they wasn't. And the worst type of leaders, some of the leaders that people look at and say, "Oh, you're horrible. They're a horrible person. They're rude. They're mean. They don't play the political game." Winston Churchill, that last English bulldog, seen multiple documentaries on Winston Churchill. He was the reason why World War II came out the way it came. You get that? If Winston Churchill, if the UK, it was Britain at the time, England, if they hadn't convinced Parliament to bring back Winston Churchill, because he was prime minister at one time, to bring him back, put him in position so he can now start fighting the Nazis or galvanizing them to actually fight the Nazis. He had the mindset that was needed at that time, that they needed in order to fight the Nazis. And then on the other side of the river, nobody here in the United States believed there was a genocide taking place of Jews in Europe by the Nazis. Winston Churchill convinced United States to get into the war. If Winston Churchill wasn't the prime minister of England, he wouldn't have been able, the current prime minister never was able to convince the U.S. to get involved. A lot of the U.S. people here, citizens, didn't believe there was anything catastrophic taking place, but they elected Winston Churchill in. He convinced the U.S. to come over and to fight against the Nazis. And guess what? Winston Churchill said some real foul shit about black people. He said some real foul shit about other races. He was really, and I would say it was foul. Now, if you look at it back then, it was probably the norm. They probably felt this way, the Negro or the person. But do I sit back and I hate Winston Churchill? No, I don't. Because I know God used Winston Churchill, because I would be speaking German right now, or probably be non-existent if the U.S. didn't get into the war at that time. Because Europe would have folded. They were just on the brink of folding. And the power from the Allied forces, United States manpower to win it was very much necessary to drive it home. Very much necessary. I'm not making this up. There are documentaries about it, multiple documentaries. I love watching war documentaries, prior military, just like you. So I read that stuff and I like watching it. But that was the pivoting point that our society and our culture wouldn't have been the same. So I don't look at people from the same lens that everybody looks at it. I look at context when I talk about a person or deal with people. They do some stuff I don't like, and then they do some stuff I'm like, oh, that's dope. They do some shit that's funny, and they do some stuff I'm like, that's damn well mean. But just like God used certain people in the Bible, all those kings, David murdered people, all these stories that they have in the old ain't none of those kings were good. None of them were good. Saul turned his back on God. David murdered people in his army all the way down. Even Solomon was a homemonger. He was sleeping with all the women. That's the reason why the kingdom fell. He has so many different wives hoeing around. But if you didn't have certain people doing certain things with their imperfections in that position, their mindset wouldn't have been galvanized to bring upon what needed to be brought upon. I don't sit back and hit. I don't sit back and even crush the Confederate Army or Confederate generals or people on the Confederate side. I don't do that because I knew at the same time there were multiple things that were taking place. The Confederacy didn't really they wasn't really, oh, we want to keep the Negro slaves. They were just about economic empowerment. They were outpacing the North drastically. because they had slaves. Two things the North did to beat them off. One, we started seeing a rise of actual machines that we deal with now to pick cotton. Now you're taking away their power. For their manufacturing power. It's going. It's going. And then what did Lincoln do? He said, we're going to free the slaves. They're nothing more than an expression in our country. And we need to know this. Our kids need to understand who Robert E. Lee was. They need to understand why the stars and bars in a flag, what that meant, what they meant by it being a rebel flag. These things need to be kept. They don't need to be ripped out and said we need to hide them, because when we do that for a generation, it only takes 2 to 3 generations to forget where we came from, to forget the oppressors, to forget those different things. They need a voice just like we need a voice. Yo, I am rocking, and I'm at that hour and a half window, and I didn't get all the content I wanted to get, but I'm going to put this out there. This is it. I appreciate you, man. Thanks for jumping on there, Dominique. I appreciate your insight. I appreciate the conversation. Hey, guys, like, subscribe, follow if you're watching this in replay. I saw some of you guys jump on. I didn't say like, subscribe, follow. And I appreciate you guys taking the time to rock out with me on the Real Estate Lunchbox. I'm going to do a deeper dive into some of this stuff. My uncle was a Tuskegee Airman and members of the legendary group of black pilots who broke barriers in the United States military during a time of segregation. He faced incredible challenges in the skies and around the world. And dude, you know, that's so bananas. I love it. I love that history. I love it. They deserve that and even more. They deserve that and even more. They laid it down, and because they laid it down, we had black airmen, and it was even, I seen even up to as early as the mid-90s, early 2000s that were discriminated against in the Air Force. Even the branch in the Air Force itself, they just really started to have more black people pour in. They really do. I think us being represented in society in different places, that's great. We can never take that history. But the same way we safeguard the history of the Tuskegee Airmen, we got to safeguard and we got to recognize the history of the Confederacy. We got to recognize this. You realize if we don't recognize this, this was the first civil war of our country. We will be doomed to repeat the same thing. We keep saying that we're the first ones to talk about, oh, if you don't know history, it's going to repeat itself. Guess what? History does repeat itself. It already does. It is somebody who forgot it and just let it go and just kept on going. So we have to safeguard these things. This is what makes the fabric, I believe, of our country uniquely different than any other country. It uniquely different. A civil war that ripped the country apart, freed the slaves, simultaneously created another economic engine, which is black power, black money, okay, flowing through it, and gave black people the voice. That's it. Now, what we did with that voice and how we handled it after that, that's our problem. That's our issue. It was given to us. Somewhere around the line, we had teachers that told us that we needed to assimilate. Assimilating not to Western culture and society, that's not it. But accepting certain truths that were in white mainstream America as being a truth for us. We didn't have to go for the white picket fence in the South. We already had communities that had white picket fences. That's all I advocate for. I just advocate just for that. Just for that. And I'm going to go back to what I said, Dominique. I'm a believer this current Democratic Party doesn't reflect what it needs to reflect for people like us. It doesn't. It reflects something else. We have what's called a rainbow coalition composed of ethnicities and people, which is, it's great to have unity. But when we have unity under this umbrella, and people under this umbrella are only here for the unification for a set period of time, that when they win enough position, and I think I mentioned it earlier, there's a statistic that came out just recently Spain let 300,000 immigrants come in. Well, 300,000 immigrants that were there, they called them and said, listen, if you didn't create a crime and you came here from your country that you didn't create a crime there or you didn't do a crime there, you're welcome now to apply for citizenship. I think that is fair and compassionate for people. Simultaneously, 75% of those coming in come from Islamic states. In those Islamic states, they don't prize Western culture. It's not West. They will do their own thing, and Islam will do their own thing. But it's on track right now. 12 to 15% of Europe over the next 8 to about 12 years, I think the stat was, will slowly begin to become majority Islamic. And there's a lot of stuff tied into that. We let people in that don't really love the country like we love the country. And then black people get on board to fight for them. And I just can't, I'm like, I can't do that. I was there when they flew the freaking planes into the Twin Towers. I was on base. It was like Sergeant Duncan, what the heck going on? I said, who the hell who playing video games in the damn lunch? Not video games. Like, that's legit. Like, they doing it. It's going, like, that's happening. And Lyndon B. Johnson said it is best if you want to keep the black vote for the next 100 years, just give them something. I was on base. I was a sergeant at that time. I was at E5 at that time. Yeah. I just got promoted E5. Yeah. So when I sit back and I look at it, man, I just can't be on board. I just can't be on board. I'm very much aware that radical Islam exists, and it's multiple ways that very crafty, multiple ways of taking out people. Sometimes it's like I give you an example. Man, I said I'm gonna go. One example, and I'm gonna tie this up. We're quick to point the finger at white people with slavery in America. And when I say this, people don't like it. Slavery, the concept of slavery wasn't illegal. It was a thing that was a norm. Not saying that it was right. I just said it was a norm. There was no world rule like we have the World Health Organization now. We have NATO. We have these organizations composed of countries that come together and they come against people like, for example, Prime Minister of Israel, Netanyahu. And he can't go too many places. He's already on some watch list. NATO wants him. Even though he's the Prime Minister of Israel, they want him for war crimes against Palestine. That's it. We didn't have this type of stuff. This NATO thing didn't come around until after World War II. Didn't have it. 400 years is not normal. 400 years is normal because the Romans did it. The Greeks did it. Egyptians did it. They enslaved Israel and the Hebrews, and all the other countries around them paid homage to Egypt. It was normal. Matter of fact, Egypt did it not for 400 years. Egypt did it for, I think, double that amount, probably close to 1,000 years. That dynasty was around for a long fucking time. And then when we stack on top of that, we can't ignore the fact that Islam came into Africa and converted a lot of African countries and African people that were there by two ways. Either you convert, you die by the sword. Well, three ways. You convert, you die by the sword, or you pay to actually live amongst them. That's it. Not all, no. Okay, so the belief is that Islam, because we see the Moors, we say they were, but Muhammad wasn't black. He wasn't black. Muhammad was Middle Eastern. Let's be for real. He was Middle Eastern. He was more closer to, he was an offshoot of a tribe before Muslim became a thing, and he jocked to actually get put on with the Jews. Muhammad, there's a story of Muhammad going to the Jews when he first started to get these revelations and these things he said he saw in his dreams, and said, listen, I'm here to fulfill the next part of the Judeo-Christian process. Like, I'm the next prophet after Jesus then left. And the Jews said, first of all, we don't recognize Jesus. And then second, like, why would we even put you next to our father Abraham and the rest of them? So he goes over to the Christians and he does the same thing. Listen, I am the next portion after Jesus left. Christians already had it. Paul had it written down that you will have false prophets that come amongst them. And they didn't believe him. So after trying to jock with them, he said, listen, I'm doing my own thing. And then he started doing his own thing. His family started following him. They were dark-skinned people with pigmentation, but they were not Africans. They were not. If anything, and I'm going to tell you something, and I'm going to hop off of this. Only reason I can say this is because I am African. I'm probably the closest you would get to an African American. How do I know? I was born in West Africa. I was raised in America as a U.S. citizen. My family came over, became citizens. We've been here almost 45 years, almost 50 years. And when we traced our relatives back, our relatives went through Liberia all the way back to the slave trade in Savannah. So we can find where one brother in our family took the choice when the choice was given to the slaves to either stay here or go to Africa. One brother went to Africa. Another brother stayed here. Actually, two brothers went to Africa. One brother stayed here. That's my history. That's the history I took the time to actually find. And then as I went through that history, I found out that the Tubman name, Harriet Tubman, people, everybody, Americans like, Harriet Tubman. Harriet Tubman was a Tubman by birth. Wasn't a Tubman by birth. She was a Tubman by marriage. And guess what she was married into? One of the cousins of one of the brothers that split. One that stayed here. So I did my research and I had to do it because I wanted to know. But I knew after that happened, I said, okay, so how does Islam fit into this? Because you got Nigeria, you got Sierra Leone, all these places, Islamic influences, they're black. What's going on? And as I researched and I saw, they're dark-skinned colored people, but no, that's what Malcolm X thought the same thing until he went to Mecca and found that Islam had no color. You had white Muslims, you had Muslims that were darker skinned, even looked more like Jews of that time, or Middle Easterners of that time. That's what Islam did. What is it? Transatlantic slave trade coming from Egypt, circling into sub-Saharan Africa and dispersing. But Islam did the same thing. They were known for doing that, man. They were just known for that was just the thing. Why do you think the Crusaders fought against Islam? They fought over Jerusalem. The European concept of these people coming into Africa and enslaving, and they're spreading. That's why the Christians of that time, I don't agree with them. That's what they did. That's why they did what they did. A black woman birthed a nation. I don't know. I mean, black woman probably did birth a nation. I mean, the melanin in the skin. You married a white guy to a black woman, and the kids typically come out with darker skin melanin. The gene is a dominant gene, but I don't get into that, and this is the reason I don't. I'm gonna tell you honestly, at its core, this is fun stuff to know, but it doesn't empower me in the essence of. It's not what I reach for in hard times. It's not the identity. It's so. Look at me, dude. I'm light skinned. And I just told you I'm from West Africa. I was born in West Africa. You ain't going to go to Liberia. Go ahead and Google it online. You're not going to look in Liberia and see people that look like me. You're not. This color, my light skin complexion is a rarity. We make up probably about less than 5% of that country. And the reason why 5% of the country we make up in Liberia is because we were considered people of that nature more educated. My family would come and learn here in the States and then go back to Africa. It was just after a point in time they stopped doing it and everybody came here. So, but man, like, subscribe, follow. I'm gonna see you guys on the next roll. I gotta roll out. I got things to do and people to see. Thanks, and we see you guys on the next stream.